Our story begins with Takudo, a boy whose fragile body was bound to illness, but whose spirit roamed freely in the world of games. Terminally ill, he spent most of his short life inside his favorite strategy game, Eternal Nations. It was more than just a pastime. It was his world. One quiet day, after achieving every possible victory in the game, Takudo restarted it once again. But before he could begin, his life slipped away, silently and without warning. His body ceased, yet his consciousness did not. He felt himself sinking into darkness, swallowed by nothingness, until he opened his eyes. What greeted him was not the familiar ceiling of a hospital room, but a cold stone throne standing in the middle of a vast forest. Confusion overtook him. Where was he? Why was he here? Before he could comprehend, a figure appeared before his eyes, one he immediately recognized. It was Atu, the Sludge Witch, his favorite character from Eternal Nations. Memories flooded his mind. He recalled how he once chose the hardest path in the game, starting with the Kingdom of Ruin, Minogra, known for being nearly impossible to manage. Yet that cursed kingdom came with Atu. Weak at first, she was unique. Each enemy she defeated granted her new powers, and in the end, she became unstoppable. Now here she was, standing before him. Atu addressed Takudo as king. Unsure whether this was a dream or roleplay, Takudo hesitated until Atu revealed she already knew everything. She knew his name, his history as a shut-in who had never touched grass, and his mastery of the game. She even remembered all their past games together, the choices he made, the words he spoke to her through the screen, and even the embarrassing moments he wished to forget. Takudo was astonished. This was no mere dream. Atu truly remembered. Overjoyed, he realized he could finally speak to his favorite character face to face. But Atu declared she was even happier than him. When Takudo asked if this was heaven and if she had summoned him here, Atu shook her head. She too had been summoned, and though this world felt much like Eternal Nations, the truth was unclear. But she didn't care. Kneeling before him, she grasped his hand and told him that since they were together, nothing else mattered. They should once again join forces and build a civilization for the two of them, just as they had countless times before. Takudo was stunned, but the idea thrilled him. He asked Atu to serve him in creating a glorious new empire, and she gladly pledged her loyalty. Acting like a dark and powerful witch, she vowed herself to him, before both of them grew embarrassed at the overly dramatic lines. Laughing at themselves, Takudo reminded her of their first rule when starting Minogra: stay hidden. Atu agreed instantly, declaring they should shut themselves away and conceal their existence from the world until the time was right. To begin, Takudo used his emergency skill, summoning a massive insect scout. The act drained half his mana, but it was essential. The bug darted off to survey the surroundings, its vision shared with Takudo exactly like in the game. Atu was surprised at how smoothly it worked, but Takudo explained that now, their best course of action was to build a settlement. He regretted lacking enough mana to summon a fighter for defense, but it couldn't be helped. Hearing this, Atu grew depressed. She was still weak, unable to protect even herself, let alone her king. But Takudo reassured her that her presence alone was enough. That simple statement filled her with happiness, though she tried to hide it. Through the scout's eyes, Takudo saw nothing but endless forest, until the bug discovered a group of weary, starving dark elves. Atu noted that dark elves were a neutral race, leaning toward neutral evil, and their kingdom of Loki aligned the same way. To her, this was good news. To Takudo, however, it was troubling. If another civilization existed nearby, his fragile kingdom could be wiped out immediately. But Atu reminded him gently, if danger came, they would simply run away together. Takudo agreed. Soon, however, fate moved faster than expected. While the elves chanted and celebrated,
a group of them stumbled directly upon Takudo and Atu. Both sides froze in shock. Atu prepared herself to sacrifice her life if necessary. The dark elf leader, Gia, had been searching desperately for food for his starving clan. Though warned not to enter this forest, rumored to hold a sealed evil, he pressed forward, unwilling to let his people die. And now, before him stood Takudo, whose presence appeared only as a shadowed silhouette. Gia's blood ran cold. The legends were true. Believing one wrong move could doom his clan, Gia immediately knelt to the ground. His followers did the same, apologizing for trespassing. Atu, slipping into her gangster persona, declared it was good they knew their place and demanded to know why they had come. Terrified, Gia began a pitiful story. But Atu, impatient, ordered him to speak plainly. Trembling, he revealed the truth. Their clan had been unjustly exiled by the council. They fled into these cursed lands for safety, but their food ran out a week ago. Now his people were starving. Takudo, moved by their suffering, asked if they had truly faced such hardship. Gia hesitated, but under Atu's sharp command to answer the king's question, he confessed everything. His only wish was for his people to live in peace. Takudo then did the unexpected. He summoned apples and tossed them towards Gia. The elves, unfamiliar with the fruit, hesitated, but hunger won. They devoured the apples with joy. Gia remained cautious, saving his share for the children. Seeing this, Takudo created pears as well, stunning Gia. Atu scolded him for being ungrateful to her master's generosity, and Gia quickly bowed, explaining he wished to feed his starving clan before himself. Takudo pitied him further and, despite Atu's protests, summoned a great abundance of food. For the dark elves, long discriminated against as children of darkness, this kindness was unprecedented. Shocked, Gia asked who Takudo truly was, but Takudo only told him to take the food back to his people. Gia returned to his camp, and for the first time in weeks, his people ate until they were satisfied. Yet Gia kept the truth of how he obtained the food a secret. That night, Elder Molter, the clan's senior-most elf, approached Gia. He noted the fruits were unlike anything he had seen in his long life, tastier than any known fruit. When pressed, Gia revealed his meeting with the shadowy being. Molter froze. The description matched the ancient prophecy of the King of Ruin, a being destined to appear when the world became too full, bringing destruction so it could be reborn. Gia admitted he couldn't understand Takudo's words, acting only on Atu's cues, but he believed the boy to be merciful. Molter, however, was unconvinced. No evil king would give without demanding something in return. Gia defended Takudo, insisting he showed compassion. But the elder grew angry at hearing their supposed king of ruin spoken of with respect. Still, after debate, he conceded Gia had at least secured food for their survival. With that, Elder Molter declared he would negotiate with this dark king himself. Perhaps, under his leadership, their clan could finally grasp the peaceful life they always longed for.
Elder Molter, unlike Gia, carried centuries of caution. Though grateful for Takudo's generosity, he believed there must be a hidden price. To him, it was only natural. Evil beings always demanded compensation. Gia argued otherwise, swearing that Takudo never hinted at such a thing. But Molter dismissed his optimism. Survival, he insisted, meant relying on this so-called Dark King, even if it came at a cost. Together the two set out to face Takudo, unaware that his insect scout was already watching them from the shadows. Takudo, upon learning of their approach, panicked. Negotiating was never his strong point. Just speaking to strangers made his voice shake. He wished they would simply take yesterday's food and leave. Seeing his distress, Atu offered to handle the negotiations, declaring that it would also remind the elves of their place, that her king was far above speaking to them directly. When Molter and Gia finally arrived, the elder bowed respectfully, thanking Takudo for feeding their starving people. Then he requested the name of their mysterious savior. With Takudo's quiet permission, Atu announced it with pride. "This is the King of Ruin." The elves froze, their fears confirmed. Atu ordered them to take the food and leave quickly. It wouldn't last forever. But Molter insisted on repaying Takudo's kindness. What could they offer in return? Atu scoffed. "Nothing you have could satisfy my king." Her sharp gaze made the old elf falter, his silence mistaken for deceit. As tension rose, Takudo realized the negotiation was falling apart. Pulling Atu aside, he suggested a gentler approach. Instead of driving the elves away, why not accept a form of repayment they could provide? Atu, though irritated, couldn't argue. When she relayed the idea, Molter sighed in relief, realizing Takudo was not the merciless monster he feared. As an offering, Molter pledged to share his knowledge of the outside world. Atu accepted, but with conditions. Once the tale was told, the elves would leave the forest. Gia protested, wanting to stay under Takudo's protection, but Molter silenced him. Orders from the Dark King were not to be questioned. Yet as the elves prepared to leave, Takudo's heart wavered. Watching their bowed heads, he suddenly asked them to stay. Not as guests, but as citizens of his kingdom. Both Molter and Gia were stunned, as was Atu, who nearly shouted at him in disbelief. But Takudo explained, in eternal nations, even refugees could be integrated into a kingdom. Dark elves, with their neutral alignment, would adapt easily to Minogra's evil attribute. Better yet, they could coexist with other species, and Takudo and Atu wouldn't be stuck only with their unsettling homunculi subjects. Atu reluctantly agreed, grimacing at the memory of the eerie, stitched-together creatures. Turning to the elves, Atu declared that if they pledged loyalty to her king, they would be welcomed as his people. The choice was theirs, but once made, they would be reborn as evil beings. Molter hesitated, but the promise of survival outweighed the risk. The transformation was immediate. Though they looked unchanged, Gia suddenly felt a surge of hatred boil within him, rage against the world that had scorned and exiled their kind. The same fury ignited in the others, overwhelming them with a thirst for revenge. Yet when Takudo asked if they were all right, Gia broke down in tears. For the first time, someone cared for them not as cursed outcasts, but as people. That night, the elves pledged loyalty to their king, with voices trembling between fear and gratitude. Takudo, though overwhelmed, accepted them warmly. Days later, Molter returned with a map of the continent. Takudo's excitement turned to dread as soon as he saw it. Their kingdom lay in the worst possible spot, wedged between two powerful civilizations. To the west stretched the holy kingdom of Quelia, devout worshippers of the god Arlos. To the east was Elnan, the elemental alliance of elves who revered nature itself. Both were nations of good, and both would see Minogra erased without hesitation. For a moment, both Takudo and Atu nearly collapsed under the weight of it. But Takudo steadied himself. If they remained hidden and grew stronger, they could survive. And now, with the intelligence of dark elves at their side, their progress could far outpace what their clumsy homunculi had ever managed. Soon after, Gia introduced his assistant, an elf, Emily, with knowledge of other kingdoms. Atu praised their dedication and began assigning roles. Molter, with his wisdom and magic, was appointed to oversee internal affairs. Gia, brimming with vigor, was named commander of Minogra's army, tasked with building its strength. Gia, fired up, boasted about slaughtering enemies and mounting their heads as trophies. Takudo grimaced at his barbaric enthusiasm, muttering that war was nothing but savagery. Atu quickly covered, telling Gia that their king preferred peace. Confused but loyal, the elf warrior vowed to remember it. Meanwhile, Molter and Gia bickered, each trying to prove who could serve their king better. To Atu, they looked like tireless workaholics. Amused, Takudo suggested a simple task: build homes and beautify the land.
Atu relayed the order, adding that the forest must remain mostly intact. The elves, once forest dwellers, agreed eagerly. When Takudo added that they should also replant what they cut, the elves looked puzzled. They had never heard of reforesting. Atu explained, claiming it was a brilliant idea from Takudo himself, and the elves were awed by his wisdom. Emily even mentioned that the grape seed she planted had sprouted, surprising Takudo. If food could grow here, then perhaps other things could too. Testing his theory, Takudo conjured a coin using magic. His eyes widened. If he could recreate things from Earth, gunpowder, tools, technology, then Minogra could advance faster than any other nation in this primitive world. For the first time, Takudo realized the game had truly begun.
Our story continues with a shift far away in the holy kingdom of Qualia. There, the Saintess Selena leads her knights through the snowy foothills, answering the cries of nearby villages plagued by monsters. When goblins rush toward her, she calmly raises her staff. One flash of her holy flame, and the creatures are reduced to ash. As the fire dies, flowers bloom in its wake, sunlight pouring down as if blessing the land itself. Her knights watch in awe. Selena's flame doesn't just burn away evil, it restores life. It's the very reason humans and elves trust her so deeply. But beneath her gentle smile lies concern. She warns the cardinal that something terrible is stirring in the cursed forest and urges him to send soldiers. He hesitates, bound by bureaucracy, but Selena's resolve shakes him. At last, he promises to send what few men he can muster. Meanwhile, back in Minogra, Takudo's young kingdom is beginning to take shape. A throne room has been built around his stone seat, and he now gathers his trusted companions for their very first council. But before the meeting begins, Emily presents him with new clothes, a gift from the elves. To them, nothing seems to change, but Atu insists her king looks divine, and Takudo, flustered yet proud, accepts the gesture. Atu then calls the council to order. First, food. She reveals a strange, unsettling plant, the fleshcree, a crop unique to their civilization, capable of producing meat that tastes eerily like human flesh. The elves recoil, but Atu assures them it is only temporary. Soon their harvests will diversify. For now, this plant will keep them alive. Next comes research. Molter, the mage, listens with shining eyes as Atu outlines their priority: magic technology, more specifically, military magic. Ordinary spells may strike a handful, but military magic could erase armies, reshape the battlefield itself. Fired up, Molter swears to lead their research forward. Then comes the topic of defense. Gia immediately insists on raising a strong army, but Takudo shakes his head. Armies consume resources, he explains, and for a kingdom still in its infancy, they are a luxury. They cannot afford. Instead, he declares they will summon a hero, a being of unmatched strength, loyal only to the king. Atu supports this decision. Though expensive, a hero requires no upkeep and can tip the scales of war. Excitement stirs in the council. For the first time, Takudo's vision of a true kingdom feels within reach. But far away, the Holy Kingdom moves as well. A small investigation party is dispatched toward the cursed forest. Among them is the young paladin Lonius, earnest but weighed by responsibility, and his senior, Virgil, who mocks him at every step. Their mission is dangerous, their numbers too few, yet they march on, unknowing of the empire slowly rising in the shadows. Back in Minogra, progress blossoms. Farms are built, springs discovered, research begins. Yet when a nearby water source turns dark and ominous, panic spread among the elves. Atu tastes it calmly and laughs. It is not corruption, but proof that the forest has begun to transform into cursed terrain. For evil-aligned beings, it is a blessing, strengthening both body and mind. For outsiders, it will be poison. Still, Takudo worries. Such terrain is too eye-catching, too easy to spot. Their enemies will know. Gia again insists on building an army, but Takudo silences him with a demonstration. From her back, black tendrils burst forth, slicing trees as if they were paper. Even at a fraction of her power, she stands as a one-woman army. The elves are stunned. To serve such a king with such terrifying strength at his side is an honor beyond words. They kneel, swearing to build him a palace worthy of his name. Takudo protests, embarrassed, but relents when Atu reminds him if the people are happy, their kingdom will grow stronger. He dreams aloud of one day ruling from a flying fortress. The elves do not laugh. They bow deeper, as though his dream were already prophecy. But while Minagra celebrates its birth, far across the land, the investigation team of the Holy Kingdom finally approaches the edge of the cursed forest, unaware of the Dark King who now rules within.
The investigation team headed south, venturing into the cursed forests. Vertil, true to his reckless nature, grumbled about the small size of their group. Lonius calmly reminded him that most forces were tied up dealing with northern disturbances, evil-aligned creatures that appeared there, raiding cities, and the Empire's might was fully committed. The mercenaries muttered among themselves, grateful to be spared from confronting a witch rumored to be involved in the chaos up north. That night, curiosity gnawed at Lonius. He approached Bargo, a seasoned mercenary, to ask about the northern witch. Bargo shrugged, admitting that rumors were rampant, but he didn't truly believe a single witch could orchestrate such widespread destruction. He suspected a cult. Vertil, drunk and half disinterested, barked at Bargo to shut up, and Lonius's irritation flared. He scolded Vertil for drinking while serving the god, only for the High Paladin to ignore him, flirting with the waitress instead. Meanwhile, Bargo questioned the reason for sending such a small team south. Vertil revealed that dark elves had fled into the cursed forest, and the higher-ups likely wanted to assess this new development. Relief washed over Bargo. The dark elves, skilled in assassination and curses, were a threat if ignored. Lonius, ever dutiful, agreed that letting them roam unchecked could become dangerous. Vertil, pragmatic as always, reminded him that this was a recon mission. Fight only if absolutely necessary. Lonius, stubborn in his ideals, insisted that they could not shirk their duty to confront evil. Back in Minagra, Takudo watched as the first harvest from the flesh trees was laid on a massive altar. With a surge of mana, he transformed the pile into a giant insect. The dark elves stared in awe, whispering about the king's incomprehensible power. Atu reassured them that even greater miracles awaited with their devotion. Takudo returned to his throne, pondering the mechanics of this strange world, yet he trusted Atu's guidance. She explained that producing creatures for the kingdom had now become a reliable process. "Time to summon a hero," Atu said with excitement. Takudo nodded. His choice was deliberate. Isla, the queen of insects. She could command insect-type monsters, summon larvae for labor, and bolster their kingdom's front lines. Atu agreed that Isla was a safe, strategic pick. Other heroes, she warned, were unhinged and would require years of guidance. Takudo hoped to summon them eventually, but not yet. Meanwhile, Lonius's party reached the Dark Continent, confronting their first opponent, a towering hill giant. As Lonius prepared his commands, Vertil strode forward, holy sword in hand, declaring he would handle it himself. Channeling divine power, he effortlessly blocked the giant's attacks and struck it down in a flurry of precise blows. Lonius praised him, sensing that with Vertil, the mission might be easier than expected, but the High Paladin remained cautiously skeptical. Back in Minagra, Takudo enjoyed a burger, a rare indulgence after days of bland hospital food. Atu advised healthier options, but he shrugged, eager to savor new tastes. After finishing, he summoned Molter and the others. Scout insects had mapped the surrounding area, revealing a nearby human settlement.
Confirming it was neutral territory, Takudo prepared for a peaceful negotiation, hoping the interaction would remain smooth. A bug scout soon relayed that an armed group was approaching. As expected, it was Lonius's party. Vertil halted the group, spotting someone emerging from the forest. Atu stepped forward, clad in black that concealed her face. Vertil demanded her identity. She claimed to be a dark elf seeking refuge with her clan. Her warning was clear. The forest was off limits. Lonius, blind to nuance, shouted, demanding obedience. Vertil restrained him, trying to negotiate peacefully. Atu's calm resolve didn't waver. She swore on her god that no threat to the Holy Kingdom existed here. Satisfied, Vertil signaled retreat. Lonius, driven by pride and suspicion, refused to trust her. Ignoring warnings, he ordered his mercenaries to capture her. In an instant, the forest erupted in chaos. Atu's spikes impaled the attackers like fresh kebabs. Lonius was struck down first, oblivious to the attack, while Vertil alone witnessed the carnage. Panic set in. This was no ordinary adversary. Removing her disguise, Atu sighed. Negotiations had been going smoothly. It was a shame they had ended this way. The remaining mercenaries and Lonius were left trembling, utterly overpowered by the sheer presence of a witch in the cursed forest.
The scene was grim. Vertil, shaken, ordered Bargo to send a messenger immediately. Bargo hesitated, reminding him that all their messengers had been slaughtered in the previous attack. Atu laughed, the sound echoing through the forest like a death knell. She declared herself the calamity they had been seeking, taunting them, "You finally found me. Now what are you going to do?" While the mercenaries faltered, frozen with fear, Vertil roared, demanding courage. There was no turning back. They were too deep in danger now. He commanded his men to ready themselves. Atu, amused, blamed the chaos on the mindless loser with the bowl cut, Lonius, and his overblown faith, promising that he would pay the price for his mistakes. The archers fired, but Atu effortlessly blocked their arrows, her inner thrill shining through. Lonius whispered in panic to Vertil, "What even is a witch?" Vertil sighed, regretting that he hadn't warned them earlier. Witches were disaster-level monsters, prophesied by the saints as the greatest threats to the kingdom. The destruction in the north had been their doing, and the woman before them was no different. Atu, bored of their chatter, threatened, "Attack or I'll start without you." Vertil told the mercenaries to fall back, leaving only him and Lonius to face her. They enchanted their swords with holy power and charged. Atu struck with her tentacles, but holy power allowed the paladins to slash through them. Surprised, she tried to retaliate, losing a tentacle to Vertil and another to Lonius. Confident, Vertil thought victory was within reach. Then, Atu's demeanor changed. She seized two mercenaries as hostages, expecting them to hesitate, but Vertil and Lonius cut through both tentacles and hostages alike. The paladins believed they had won, only for Atu to reveal her final act. She turned Vertil into a human pincushion in an instant. Lonius watched in horror as Vertil fell, dead before he could react. Atu flaunted her power. She could summon countless tentacles at will. Realizing the depth of his mistake, Lonius commanded the mercenaries to scatter and escape, leaving only him behind. Atu was initially amused, but her eyes fell on Lonius, who stayed, prepared to sacrifice himself. He attacked, but she blocked his strike with Vertil's own stolen holy power. "You see," Atu said, pressing him back, "I've taken his abilities, his memories, even his emotions." She recounted Vertil's care for everyone in the party, emphasizing that Lonius's ego had caused his death. Lonius, stricken, insisted that Vertil's will lived on and that the mercenaries would deliver the news. But screams erupted in every direction. Atu had ordered the Dark Elves to prevent a single escape. Lonius charged in blind fury but could not reach her. Atu hoisted him upside down, filling him with fear and regret. She recounted the alternative life he might have had he heeded Vertil's advice. Now the future was irrevocably altered. She threatened the lives of his family and all the towns and villages they had passed through, placing the blame squarely on his shoulders. Her tone shifted from menacing to cheerful. "You must have been a good religious man, Lonius," she said, smiling. "But I despise self-righteous fools like you." Lonius begged, but Atu tore him apart, ending his agony. She stood solemnly on the cliff's edge, his wedding ring lying in a puddle of blood. Gia and the Dark Elves arrived, reporting that the mercenaries had been dealt with. Pleased, Atu left the cleanup to them. Gia asked nervously if she truly intended to follow through on her threats. For a moment, her expression hardened. Then she returned to her usual cheerful self. "No," she said, "I'm a pacifist. That was just for fun." Her attention shifted to Takudo. She reported the presence of another witch in the north, a term unknown in the game world. Takudo realized the world around them differed from the game's mechanics. Atu explained that she could absorb not only the abilities, but also a portion of her opponent's memories, a powerful advantage. She had already gleaned critical intelligence about the Qualia Kingdom from the Paladin's memories. Currently, Qualia was distracted by northern disturbances, but the loss of their survey team would not go unnoticed. Takudo urged caution. They didn't know what they were facing, but he was intrigued by this new witch, named Irakino, the Slurping Witch. Her potential for destruction was equivalent to the hero units in the game. Takudo and Atu considered strategies. Perhaps a more combat-oriented hero should be summoned instead of Isa, the Bug Queen. Diplomatic relations with nearby neutral territories also became a priority. They needed allies if Qualia advanced against them. Atu agreed to execute the plan. Meanwhile, in a distant land, beast folk were fighting a new wave of monsters led by a powerful cow-woman wizard. Atu paused, reflecting on her recent actions. She feared she might have gone too far with the paladins, but Takudo reassured her. Nothing she did could offend him. Atu, seeing the king as both terrifying and kind, renewed her resolve. She would follow his orders without hesitation.
The sun cast its golden glow over the newly completed palace, its spires reaching toward the heavens as if proclaiming the birth of a kingdom. Takudo stood before it, eyes wide with pride, a rare smile gracing his lips. Beside him, Atu mirrored his joy, her gaze sweeping over the monument as if she could already see the echoes of their future victories within its walls. This is just the beginning," Takudo whispered, almost to himself. "One day, I want an even bigger palace." Atu tilted her head, a sly glint in her eyes. "The heroes we've raised, the ones we'll summon, they'll live here. Every hall will be their sanctuary, and every room a servant will await their needs." Her words paused Takudo, a shadow of guilt flickering across her expression. "Wait," she murmured, her tone suddenly serious. "You don't even have a personal attendant, do you?" Takudo opened his mouth to protest, but Atu's determination cut him off. "I will find someone immediately. It's a matter of pride, for both you and me." Nervously, he stammered, I just want someone easy to talk to. The Dark Elves, they keep their distance. It makes it impossible for me to be a friendly king." Atu's lips curved in a knowing smile, though she said nothing of the truth. His form, the very essence of him, made closeness impossible. Instead, she assured him, "Leave it to me. I have a brilliant plan." Takudo, sensing impending chaos, merely muttered, "I'm not sure this will end well." Soon, Malter, Gia, and Emily arrived, summoned by Atu's command. "Gather all the girls in the village," she ordered, her tone sharp yet gleeful. "Bring them here." Malter's face turned pale. Why?" Atu's grin widened. "Children. They are untainted by adult worries, free to speak openly. They will serve the king and learn to interact naturally." Takudo hurried to clarify, his mind racing. No, that's not what I meant. I want them untainted, free, to help shape the kingdom's future." Atu nodded approvingly. "Exactly. And if we train them properly, we'll cultivate future leaders. Girls, boys, it doesn't matter. Equality is key." Gia's eyes sparkled. "Yes, a noble vision indeed."
Emily clapped, impressed. Takudo, though flustered, breathed a small sigh of relief. The first group arrived, and immediately erupted in wails. Children screamed, cried, and ran in panic. Atu scowled. "Bring the second batch," she commanded, undeterred. Malter muttered, There's no one left in the village." Atu's sharp gaze cut through him. "Disgraceful!" Finally, the solution. The twins, Karina and Marina. Malter hesitated, muttering their unique circumstances made them unsuitable. Atu cut him off, her tone final. "I will decide their fate myself." The girls entered. Karina's skin bore faint, scarred remnants of a smallpox-like disease, now healed but hauntingly permanent. Marina's eyes were sharp, unflinching, a survivor of horrors no child should witness. The truth tumbled out. Their mother had perished, and Marina had been forced to consume her to survive. Even Takudo and Atu recoiled at the revelation, the room heavy with the unspeakable weight of their past. Yet, Atu could see it. These girls were unbroken, fearless in ways others could never understand. Marina stepped forward first. You are pure white," she said, her eyes locked on Takudo. Confused, he replied, I am. "I am not afraid of you," Marina continued, voice steady. "I can serve you. I can handle it." Karina glanced at her sister, a silent bond unbroken. "I will stay with her," she said simply. "I will serve you too." Takudo's heart swelled with pride and fear. These children had suffered unimaginable trauma, yet they had chosen him, willingly, bravely. Atu, watching, felt a pang of jealousy, but she quickly reminded herself of the urgent matters awaiting them. Malter whispered a cautionary warning. The twins had locked their hearts since their mother's death. They were survivors, yes, but survivors who had abandoned hope of closeness. Takudo nodded, determined to guide them patiently. Palace life moved quickly. Marina, clumsy yet earnest, spilled water repeatedly. Karina cleaned up her mess with quiet efficiency. Atu, seeing the small chaos, shook her head but moved on to the meeting. Atu led the council. Construction? Emily reported the palace completed. A clinic was next to safeguard their people. Resource gathering. Atu emphasized efficient mana collection. Atu countered that new facilities should focus on rapid mana generation. Research. Malter noted military magic was complete, but limited to him. Atu advised mastering the 6 great elements instead. Military. Gia revealed 5 long-legged bugs scouting nearby lands. Atu ordered full deployment to secure safety. Hero summoning. Plans solidified to summon Isa, the queen of insects, leaving only mana gathering to be completed. Hours of strategy and reports passed, each second laden with pressure, responsibility, and the quiet hum of a kingdom learning to breathe. Later, as the twins interacted with Takudo, they asked why he, a bad guy, spared them despite repeated mistakes. He explained, "Good people are constrained. They can only do good. Bad people, however, are free. They can act selfishly, mercilessly, yet also show forgiveness if they choose." The twins, mischievous and cautious, had been testing him, seeing how far this bad guy would bend his rules. Takudo understood. Their guilt over surviving their mother's fate weighed heavily, and he approached calmly. "What did your mother tell you before she died?" he asked. "Keep living," Marina whispered, tears glistening. "Then live," Takudo said softly. "Live a life that would make her proud. You are free to choose. As long as you live meaningfully, I will bless you." The twins, overwhelmed, embraced him, crying freely for the first time in years. Atu, watching from the doorway, felt a rare pang of envy at the bond forming. Yet she remembered her report. The Eastern neutral nation awaited their attention. Fawnhaven and strategic expansion. Atu briefed Takudo on Fawnhaven, a neutral Eastern kingdom where humans and beastfolk coexisted.
The town of Dragon, part of this nation, sat near the forest, ruled by a council of shamans. Rumors suggested it was built around a dragon vein, a source of pure, natural mana. However, the town was besieged by goblins and monsters left to fend for itself. Takudo's mind raced. If Dragon fell, refugees would flock to their kingdom. They could strengthen their population and secure a base for direct negotiations with the Funk Kingdom. Without hesitation, he began organizing a group of ambassadors. Every decision carried weight, every moment teetered on the edge of triumph or disaster. Takudo's palace shone not just as a monument of stone, but as a beacon of hope, strategy, and fragile humanity. Within its walls, young lives, scarred yet resilient, would shape the kingdom's future, while decisions made today could echo across the lands for decades.
The forest loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, its trees gnarled like the twisted fingers of some ancient deity. At its edge, Takudo's party met the bison shaman, Tonka, and her cohort of beastmen, each one tense, muscles coiled, instincts screaming caution. Atu and the Dark Elves radiated a palpable aura of malevolence, a force so intense that the forest itself seemed to shiver in fear. The beastmen froze, panic flickering in their eyes. Tonka stepped forward, her voice steady but laced with apprehension. "Do not attack. They are beyond your strength." Atu's eyes gleamed, her tone teasing and deadly. "Stand back, Dark Elves. I wish to speak to them alone." A ripple of terror ran through the beastmen. Their primal instincts screamed at them to flee, to escape this confrontation with the embodiment of evil. Slowly, Atu's tentacles emerged, writhing like serpents, threatening, probing, testing their courage. And then, chaos broke in the form of a cheerful human. "Hi, I'm Pepe," the boy declared, bounding forward with reckless confidence. "Who are you? Introduce yourself." Atu blinked, momentarily taken aback. Tentacles retracted. The forest seemed to exhale. Tonka, however, felt her heart drop. This child's absurd bravery made the danger spike tenfold. Pepe's garrulous chatter almost instantly diffused the tension. He spoke of their journey from Dragon, of trials and mishaps along the way. Tonka offered a polite apology for his antics, which Atu accepted with the slightest twitch of irritation. Curious, Atu asked why Tonka had not brought soldiers. Tonka's response was cautious. Her forces could not withstand the dark aura of the forest, nor the raw power Atu emanated. The king they sought, Takudo, was a mystery she could not yet fathom. Pepe, oblivious to the danger, recounted his encounter with a powerful troll. He had foolishly challenged it alone, subdued it, climbed upon its back only to be attacked again. Panic had frozen him until Tonka had saved him. Her voice, sharp with exasperation, had scolded him, assigning him a punishment. Accompany her into the cursed forest to investigate the monsters attacking Dragon. She now regretted that choice, realizing she had brought a child face to face with the personification of evil. Yet Pepe, ever fearless and idiotic, bounded forward to introduce himself to Takudo. "Will you be my friend?" he asked, smiling innocently. Tonka's panic spiked. She clamped a hand over his mouth, mumbling apologies. But Takudo's heart soared. In all his existence, no one had asked him for friendship. Not like this. Smiling, he agreed. Tonka's jaw dropped. Atu blinked, processing the absurdity, and even the Dark Elves, normally stoic and aloof, broke into applause. A chaotic welcome. A banquet awaited them. Apple juice shimmered in transparent glass cups, eliciting awe from Tonka and delight from Pepe. The boy, unable to contain his boundless energy, leapt across the table, gaping at Gia's muscles, flaunting magic before Molter with reckless bravado. Takudo, impressed yet concerned, balanced the joy of friendship with the responsibility of diplomacy. An idea sparked in his mind. "Pepe, shall we play a game?" he asked. Confusion rippled through the group. Pepe, of course, accepted enthusiastically. The games commenced. Takudo was soundly defeated in every match. Pepe laughed, suggesting that these games be exported to Dragon. Tonka panicked. Takudo, however, smiled and agreed. This was an opportunity for trade he had already intended. Time, however, was fleeting. The real matter awaited: diplomacy. Lunch concluded, and Atu steered the discussion. Tonka flinched as the real topic surfaced: barbarian attacks, trolls, goblins, marauding chaos. Takudo inquired about Dragon's military strength. Tonka's heart raced. She feared he would exploit their weakness in negotiation. She hastily reassured them that the city's forces could manage, for now. Atu nodded in agreement. Peaceful civilizations rarely drew barbarian ire. Pepe, of course, interrupted. "I heard the investigation is to find the source of the barbarians, or Dragon will be destroyed." Tonka was speechless. Atu's eyes softened. "We bear no hostility. Your struggle is ours too. If Dragon falls, so too will the threat creep towards us." Takudo's decision was instant. They would aid their friends. Tonka, humbled, asked what they sought in return. Atu named the Dragonbane within the city. Tonka's panic resurfaced. Never had she even mentioned it. Joint control would ensure that mana produced would be allocated carefully, with Minagra deciding its elemental conversion. Tonka, surprised by Minagra's technological superiority, realized the deal was sound. Pepe, ever reckless, sealed the alliance. His innocence and insight impressed all. The Minagra Kingdom and the foreign nation of Dragon were now allied. Days later, a meeting refined the alliance. Emily outlined trade, food and toys from Minagra for metal and necessities from Dragon, alongside joint management of the Dragonbane. Molter praised Pepe's carelessness for catalyzing success, but worried for the boy's safety. Takudo suspected otherwise. Pepe had revealed Dragon's desperate situation to ensure swift assistance. Karina and Marina, ever curious, inquired about Dragon. Molter reminded them that understanding customs was crucial. Takudo admitted ignorance. This would be addressed later. Presently, their priority was aiding Dragon. Delegations would visit Dragon and Forn. While Molter proposed leading a small group, Takudo refused, deeming him too vital. The twins, he reasoned, were too young for such peril. Molter countered. Experience was essential. Odo volunteered as a guardian? Atu yielded. Finally, the twins stepped forward, invoking the freedom Takudo had granted them. Their innocent puppy eyes pressed him to consent. Takudo relented, shocking Atu. No one had ever wielded such influence over him. She sulked, telling him to forget her for now. The twins encouraged Takudo to express his heart. Taking Atu's hand, he spoke earnestly. "Thank you for always thinking of me. I could not have reached this far without you. You are the only one for me." Atu's mind reeled, imagining a future she had scarcely dared to dream. With personal matters resolved, Takudo guided Atu and the twins to the newly constructed clinic, revealing the plague doctor units he had created as bodyguards for their impending journey. Atu, surprised, followed as he opened the clinic doors. The moment Takudo led them through the clinic doors, the plague doctors emerged, masks concealing faces but not their energy. Each step they took resonated with purpose. Marina froze, staring at the bizarre figures. Karina's nerves tightened. Yet the doctors' voices, cheerful and surprisingly warm, greeted their king as if nothing in the world could unsettle them. Atu, ever the devoted admirer of Takudo, leaned forward, eyes glinting. They are perfect, Takudo, qualified to serve under you." Takudo smiled faintly, a mix of pride and practicality. "I designed them for emergencies. They've been on standby, waiting for this moment. Now they will serve as bodyguards for the twins. Atu's excitement was palpable. The twins, still uncertain, eyed the masked medics warily. Takudo explained, "They are healers, yes, but combat-ready as well. And loyal." Atu briefed the medics on their mission: accompany the twins to Dragon, observe its culture, and protect them. Excitement radiated from the plague doctors, their exuberance almost too much for the twins to bear. Takudo decided they deserved names. "Akiro, Gairo, Suburo," he announced. The medics were overwhelmed, their mechanical yet human-like hearts brimming with emotion. Marina tried to mimic them, stepping into their world with gleeful abandon, while Karina hung back, shy and cautious, a timidness Atu immediately understood. Meanwhile, in Dragon, Mayor Antic raged in her office, frustration twisting her features. She had imagined a peaceful life in neutral territory, but the workload was unbearable. Worse, she had to collaborate with forces she considered evil. Her subordinate approached, and in a blink, Antic's business persona returned. Orders were barked, time was gold, and interruptions were unacceptable. But then, the words, "from Minagra," shattered her composure. Panic overtook professionalism. Dropping all other concerns, she hurried to meet the unexpected visitors. In the waiting room, the twins sat poised on a couch. Behind them, the three plague doctors radiated a palpable, sinister aura. Antic's mind raced. Had the shamans of Dragon truly allied with these horrors? Her unease surged. The girls introduced themselves politely as Minagra's representatives. Karina noticed Antic's hesitation, but before she could speak, Antic apologized for the lack of preparation. The twins waved it off graciously. Antic's thoughts spiraled. Tonka had mentioned twin daughters raised as future leaders by the Dark King. These children were no ordinary envoys. If she faltered here, the consequences could ripple across nations. She asked why they were visiting. The twins paused, unsure. Gairo, ever the boldest of the medics, stepped forward. "Pepe invited them," he said, voice calm but commanding. "This is an informal visit. They are here to observe your culture, nothing official, no negotiations required yet." Relief flooded Antic. No delicate diplomacy necessary. She could guide them through the city and perhaps foster goodwill for the future. The twins accepted eagerly, and Antic led them on a whirlwind tour. All while Takudo observed through the medic's vigilant eyes. In the market and the poppy flower. As evening fell, the girls retired to their lodgings. Karina began discussing the day's observations. Marina noted the undercurrent of anxiety among the citizens, their fears of enemies, compounded by shortages of essential goods. Sensitive to emotions, she could feel their struggle. The medics, curious, presented a pouch from the market. Inside lay a single, pristine white flower. Karina's eyes narrowed. A poppy, narcotic, banned almost everywhere. Its health and vitality suggested cultivation, not wild growth. Someone in Dragon sought to profit from the city's fear. Anger surged in Karina. Peace threatened by greed. The medics, recognizing the danger, steeled themselves for caution. The Dragon Vein and the merchant's proposition. The next day, the twins visited the Dragon Vein field. Crystals pulsed with mana, glowing like frozen starlight. Awe struck them speechless, until a man approached. "I'm Vesta," he introduced himself smoothly. "I hear the Dragon Vein is jointly controlled. I have a proposition." He spoke of cultivating poppy grass for profit, offering shares to Minagra and gifts for their king. Suspicious, the twins inquired further, but he insisted on private discussions, providing an address. He grinned, thinking the evil-aligned twins would be easy to manipulate. The girls, however, saw through him immediately. They refused the meeting, returning to Antic, who was delighted by their discretion. Then Vesta arrived in person, unannounced, brute force entry, flanked by thugs. Antic panicked, demanding answers.
Vesta, arrogantly confident, questioned the twins' decision to ignore him. Karina reassured Antic no deal would be made, yet they were prepared to handle the rogue merchant themselves. The medics positioned themselves protectively, their air darkening. Vesta's men drew weapons. One brandished a syringe filled with poppy extract. "One dose, and there's obey," Vesta sneered. Karina's eyes burned with fury. "Harm them, and you awaken Minogra's wrath. Your death will not be peaceful." Vesta laughed, stepping aside, syringe in hand. Then, a blur. A sword hurtled through the air, striking down his own man. He turned. What he saw froze him. The plague doctors had ripped through the thugs with surgical precision, exposing their true forms, patchwork monstrosities beneath human masks. They sought humanity by wearing skin, and now the medics themselves wore human forms, eerily perfect. Antic's horror peaked. Marina comforted her gently, but Karina's command was absolute. Vesta, defiant, claimed kinship in evil. Karina's eyes narrowed. Evil is freedom. You chose your end. On her word, the medics finished the rogue merchant, claiming his body as their own, a gruesome but fitting conclusion. Marina commented on their new, human appearance, while Karina apologized for the chaos. Antic, trembling, assured her it was fine, but the twins' composure, uneerily calm, drove her into utter panic. She lost control entirely. The medics, seeking to emulate human behavior, panicked too, but Karina's sharp kick halted them. And in that moment, Antic's mind snapped. Laughter erupted, unhinged, echoing through the ruined office, a sound that mingled terror, disbelief, and dark amusement.
The twins returned to Minigra. Atu's eyes burned with a mix of fury and disbelief, not at the girls themselves, but at Takudo. You let them go that far?" she snubbed, her voice sharp enough to cut through stone. "You abandoned your duties just to watch them run wild, and you actually allowed them to butcher bandits in Antic's office? Are you trying to raise teenagers or calamities?" Takudo's response was quiet, almost defeated. "I didn't stop them because I thought they'd hate me if I did." Atu spun to face the twins, who still clutched their bloodied cloaks like trophies, and scolded them for their extreme measures. Then her gaze fell on the medics, proudly boasting about the 3 lives they had taken and wearing their victims' skins as if it were a badge of honor. Atu's composure shattered. Her punishment was simple, but ironic. Essays reflecting on their mistakes, a strangely mild sentence for murder in another country. The council convened to discuss the state of Dragon. Takudo, distracted by handing candy to the twins, was scolded once again by Atu. The dark elves urged patience. The meeting's urgency came first. Molter added that the elves shared some blame for the twins' lack of basic manners, a matter Atu decided to address later. Molter confirmed the twins' report. Dragon was in chaos. Food was scarce, law enforcement weak, and crime rampant. Worse, waves of barbarians, goblins, orcs, and hill giants attacked relentlessly. Goblins and orcs were trivial threats, but the hill giants were formidable, their strength unmatched by ordinary soldiers. Exhausted shamans and soldiers could not trace the monster's origin. Gia demanded immediate military intervention, but Emil Eli cautioned that diverting workers could collapse the economy. Atu, ever fearless, volunteered herself for the expedition, hungry for combat experience and eager to strengthen Minigra. Takudo nodded in approval. Molter and his students would accompany her. Though doubts lingered about Takudo's ability to protect the kingdom without Atu, the main damage dealer, he promised confidently, "I'll summon a hero, the defenses will hold." The elves' astonishment was palpable. The timing seemed almost supernatural, though Takudo chose to bask in their awe rather than explain it was mere coincidence. At the summoning altar, all resources gathered, the air thrummed with anticipation. Takudo's heart raced, not with fear, but with nostalgia, recalling countless hours spent in the game meticulously gathering materials for this very moment. Through telepathy, he asked Atu what he thought might happen. "This is our first hero," she said cautiously. "I hope she obeys you. But if not, I'll protect you." Takudo smiled softly. "Thank you, but don't risk your life. I can't summon you again if you die." The ritual began. Dark mana swirled, consuming the resources, twisting into a black sphere that cracked open, revealing an egg. A scream shattered the air, piercing, commanding. Isla, the queen of insects, had arrived. Takudo flinched, but relief washed over him as she bowed deeply, devotion shining in her eyes. Her memories from the game were intact. She remembered him. Atu stepped forward, testing Isla's loyalty. The queen gently patted her head. "I cannot serve anyone but my king," she declared. Atu, flustered, asked her to stop, but Isla's curiosity about the current world quickly took precedence. Takudo explained their journey, crediting Isla for guiding them. Atu blushed. Their fleeting flirtation caught Isla's amused eye. "Get a room," she teased, before taking her duty seriously. She would protect the kingdom as commanded. Atu would head to Dragon, leaving her lonely. Takudo admitted he might falter without her support, and Isla quietly shipped the pair like a mischievous old grandmother. The next day, Atu departed for Dragon with Molter and his students. Her goodbye to Takudo was poignant, the weight of distance and duty heavy between them. Isla immediately assumed her role as Takudo's temporary secretary, a strict enforcer of schedules and discipline. "No sleeping till noon," she demanded. "You are king, and your people watch you." Marina and Karina were taken aback by the contrast between Atu's warmth and Isla's disciplined presence, but they adapted quickly. Isla requested the twins accompany her on a tour, which Takudo approved. Emily arrived shortly after, reporting on labor reassignments. Without Atu, Takudo was anxious, but he navigated the conversation, offering thoughtful guidance despite his exhaustion. Jaya brought his report next, and Isla swiftly brought order, asserting her quiet authority. During the twins' tour, Emily vented her frustrations about Jaya, who constantly damaged training equipment. She leaned against Isla's arthropod-like form, crying softly. Isla comforted her, promising to address Jaya's behavior later. At the training ground, Jaya disrupted the session again, breaking swords with reckless strength. Isla intervened calmly, instructing him to first check supplies. Intimidated, Jaya apologized. Isla patted his head gently, speaking as a mentor. "You will be a stronger warrior if you remain calm and mature." The twins reminded Isla it was lunchtime. In the community kitchen, premium utensils awaited her, but she chose to eat among the elves. "I can only protect Minigra if I live with its people and understand them," she explained. The twins gifted her custom wooden cutlery, which she accepted warmly, hugging them and granting the head pats they had longed for. Nighttime comfort and strategy. That night, Isla patrolled the town. From a treehouse, she heard soft sobs. Karina wept, haunted by dreams of happier times with her mother. Marina tried to console her. Isla knelt beside them, promising that from now on she would sleep with them, so that each morning they would awaken to a comforting presence. The next day, Isla visited Takudo with strategic recommendations. Build a school to improve research speed and promote units. Plant living reed grass at the borders to act as a living barrier, and lay eggs to produce worker insects. Takudo, impressed, used his shared sensibility to discover that Atu was engaging a group of monsters, a new battle waiting beyond the horizon.
The hill giant barreled toward the city wall like a living mountain, but Atu moved faster than the eye could follow. Her tentacles lashed out in a flash, ending its life before it even touched the ground. Mayor Antic, standing nearby, froze in horror. The sheer magnitude of Atu's power rendered her speechless. She stammered, desperately trying to curry favor with the monstrous warrior by mentioning her good relationship with the twins, hoping that would soften the terrifying figure before her. Atu's crimson eyes softened for a moment. "Take a break," she said calmly. "I've got this." Antic didn't need to be told twice. She quickly retreated, trembling.
leaving Atu alone with the battlefield. Later, as Atu rested, a beast man offered her juice. Molter remarked with a smile, "Looks like she's starting to fit in with the people here. I thought they'd be terrified of her at first." Atu's mood darkened at the mention of Pepe. When he had first seen her tentacles, he had jokingly called her an octopus, and the name had stuck. She could only sulk as Molter redirected the conversation to her skill harvest. The monsters had yielded an impressive array of abilities, and Molter assured her Takudo would be thrilled. Atu's eyes lit up. Praise from Takudo, now that was worth fighting for. But her respite was short-lived. A massive hill giant emerged on the horizon. Molter scanned for any magical control and found none. Atu warned, "We must identify the source quickly if we want to return safely." Antic came running, breathless, informing them that soldiers were preparing for battle. Atu waved her off, confident, "One hill giant, I can handle it myself." Molter, unwilling to sit idle, cast Land of Ruin, giving Atu the terrain advantage and weakening the hill giant. With a single slash from her holy sword skill, the giant crumbled, but instead of a corpse, gold coins rained down. Confused, Atu contacted Takudo. He linked his vision and instantly recognized the coins. They were from another game he had played, Brave Quest. Before they could process this, a vast army of monsters approached, led by a rock giant and a gaunt Krotos who traded his blades for magic. "This is no ordinary battle," Takudo warned. "They're enemies from an RPG." Meanwhile, far to the north, Saint Selena led knights to hunt the witch Irakino. A ruined village greeted them, silent except for sudden, devastating shots. Headshots that felled her men instantly. Irakino appeared, smirking. "This time, I'll win." Selena's eyes narrowed. She had killed this witch 17 times, yet Irakino returned again and again. How could death not hold her? Irakino mocked the saint's skill, claiming they could never understand her resurrection. With a flick of her hand, she summoned a horde of zombies. Selena responded with holy flames, incinerating them instantly. Panic flashed across Irakino's face. The saint struck with precision, piercing her with a staff. Irakino cursed the hard game she was trapped in and fell. Yet Selena knew this would not be the last encounter. Takudo explained to Atu the nature of Brave Quest. Monsters spawned randomly, striking without warning, a chaotic battlefield unlike Dragon's ordinary threats. His prior experience gave them an edge. Knowing their enemies' patterns and abilities meant Atu could anticipate attacks. In the demon realm, Generals Ice Rock and Flamen received orders from the Demon King. Conquer by any means necessary. Ice Rock, thrilled to command the monster army, advanced toward Dragon. Flamen held back, pursuing a secretive, personal goal. As the monsters neared, Molter cast Land of Ruin across a wide area. The spell crippled the lower-level forces, but high-level demons like Ice Rock grew stronger, puzzled by this strange magic. Atu advanced boldly, identifying Ice Rock from Takudo's briefing. "I am a character from eternal nations. I will kill every last one of you." Meanwhile, Dragon's residents fired arrows desperately, but the attacks barely scratched the monsters. Mayor Antic ordered a strategic retreat, intending to evacuate civilians. But Molter assured her victory was already underway. Atu was fighting the enemy leader. The rest would crumble. The battlefield shook as Ice Rock hurled ice spikes. Atu dodged effortlessly, cutting down surrounding monsters with wide-area skills Takudo had taught her. Ice Rock, confused, asked why she opposed the demons despite her own origins. She answered matter-of-factly, "I run a small kingdom. I can't handle the stress of the entire world." His pride bruised, he attacked in a rage. Atu taunted him as she blocked and countered. His ultimate attack, slow but devastating, froze her legs. She struggled to defend herself, a black sludge spilling from her shoulder, but she endured. With a flurry of tentacles, she pierced the giant demon, turning him into a pile of gold coins. Despite the victory, Atu felt no triumph, only irritation at having been hit. Her system notified her she had acquired Ice Rock's ultimate skill, a deadly precision attack. Atu finally understood the peril of fighting foes from different game genres. Relieved, Atu contacted Takudo, only to learn that General Flammen's half of the monster army had already reached Minagra. The real battle was about to begin. Ice Rock, one of the Demon Lord's 4 generals. In his final breath, he declares, "Long live the Demon Lord," before his body crumbles into golden coins. But victory doesn't come without cost. Atu is furious, wounded by Ice Rock's last strike. Yet she quickly regains her composure, reporting to King Takudo through telepathy. Just as she delivers the good news, disaster strikes. The Demon Lord's army is already marching toward Minagra. Meanwhile, far away, the Demon Lord himself gazes upon the new land with greedy admiration, declaring it beautiful and ripe for conquest. Back in Minagra, Takudo already knows what's happening, thanks to his unique ability to sense everything within his domain. His trusted companions, Isla, Karia, and Maria, rally to his side. Isla assures everyone, "With me here, our king has nothing to fear." But Takudo is cautious. This is no ordinary invasion. There's even the chance that the Demon Lord is another player like himself. Takudo wastes no time. He calls upon his forces, Isla, the Dark Elf warriors led by Gia, the Brain Eaters with their healing powers, and even the insect larva Isla has birthed. It's a small army, but with strategy and unity, they will stand strong. Through telepathy, Emle confirms the civilians are evacuated, while Gia scouts the enemy numbers, nearly 1,000 strong, with orcs, goblins, and grotesque creatures among them. Takudo smiles. Undaunted, he says, "Moments like these are why we save our mana. It's time to show them the strength of a 4X game." In a bold move, Takudo grants all of Minagra's mana reserves to Isla. Empowered, she laughs wickedly, vowing to crush their enemies. The twins cheer her on, calling her Mother. The Demon Lord's army advances through the cursed forest, but they soon encounter swarms of Isla's larvae. As chaos spreads, Isla herself descends, mocking them. "If you call yourselves the forces of darkness, you should at least be more ruthless." That's when he appears, flaming, another of the Demon Lord's 4 generals. With blazing confidence, he mocks Ice Rock as weak and claims he's 2 steps stronger. Isla smiles coldly, introducing herself, "I am Isla, Queen of Bugs, hero of Minagra, servant of King Ira Takudo." Thus begins a battle of fire and insects. Flaming summons more troops, his flames scorching Isla's larva. But no matter how fierce his attacks, Isla skillfully dodges every blow, refusing to fall. Her voice calm and mocking. "If you truly want to kill me, you'll need to prepare at least 5 times more." Flaming rages, his MP draining with every attack, while Isla remains unshaken. Finally, when his strength falters, Isla strikes decisively. Delivering her master's words, she declares, "You took us too lightly." With a single, lethal move, she cuts Flaming in 2. Takudo watches through his power, praising her victory. Isla, delighted, thanks her master and prepares to claim a new skill, when suddenly, something goes wrong. Her communication with Takudo is cut off. And then, without warning, the twin sisters, Karia and Maria, are teleported onto the battlefield. Confused and terrified, they cling to Isla, calling her Mother. Isla orders the larva to shield them as she assesses the new threat. From the shadows, Flaming, though defeated, smiles ominously. Takudo is watching everything unfold, trying desperately to reach his allies. But suddenly, An error message. The chat function isn't available. This has never happened before, and for the first time, Takuto feels real panic. At the same time, Ayla is also trying to make contact, but no one answers. Worried, she grabs Maria and Kuria, flying off to get them to safety. Yet after a while, they find themselves back at the exact same spot they started from. Then, laughter. Flaman appears, mocking them. "There's no skipping this event," he declares. Ayla is stunned. She saw him die earlier. She attacks, but her strikes barely register. Flaman tells her he's already dead, and nothing she does can change the outcome. Suddenly, her attack freezes mid-swing. A message flashes on Takuto's HUD. Important characters are protected during cutscenes. It all clicks. This is just like the Brave Quest storyline. Flaman temporarily returns to life, only to unleash an unavoidable attack on the party. Back on the battlefield, Ayla tries to keep the twins calm, but Flaman laughs, mocking her promise to protect them. She strikes again and again, but her blows do nothing. He explains, bitterly, that he too is trapped in this script, forced to play along with events he cannot control. Then, horrifyingly, Maria and Kuria's bodies begin moving on their own, walking straight toward Flaman. Ayla struggles, her body resisting, as if some unseen force won't let her intervene. She pushes so hard that her limbs begin to bleed, but the event won't allow her to change anything. Flaman sneers, telling her she now understands his curse, being nothing more than a pawn, trapped in endless cycles. He curses the being who deceived him with false promises of freedom, and even curses Takuto, accusing him of treating allies like tools. And with that, Flaman detonates himself. The twins awaken in a massive crater. Ayla stands over them, mortally wounded. She took the brunt of Flaman's explosion to protect them. The girls panic, urging her to return to town for treatment, but Ayla knows there's no saving her. She tells them calmly she's going to die here today, but before that, she has something to entrust them with. Maria and Kuria blame themselves, insisting it's their punishment for hoping to live happy lives. Ayla reassures them it's not their fault, it's hers for being too weak. The twins beg to die with her, unable to bear losing another mother figure. But Ayla insists. With tears in her eyes, she plunges her hand into her chest, pulling out her heart. She tells them of her skill, royal succession. By eating her heart, they can inherit her powers. Though horrified, the girls obey her final wish. They consume Ayla's heart, inheriting their title as heroes. But instead of triumph, grief consumes them. They quietly join hands and walk toward the Demon Lord's stronghold. Elsewhere, A2 is finishing mopping up the demon army. But then a message: Ayla has been killed. Her composure snaps, fury overwhelming her. Molter, shocked, urges everyone to get down as her rage explodes. She regains control, ashamed, and tells Molter the truth. Ayla is gone. Meanwhile, Takuto is crushed. He knew Flaman's scripted event, but he never thought it would apply here. When he tries contacting Ayla again, the system coldly informs him she no longer exists. He falls to his knees. He has truly lost one of his most beloved heroes. Back on the front lines, Maria and Kuria now wield Ayla's inherited powers, but grief twists their abilities. Kuria unlocks divine light, nullifying curses, and a deadly disease that rots flesh from bone. She stares down the Wind Demon General, and in moments, the general's skin peels away as she dies screaming. Maria's powers manifest as something far more terrifying. Her trauma births the curse of forgetfulness, an ability that makes even giant mechs forget how to function. They collapse helplessly before her. Then, with her telekinetic bite, she tears into golems and demons alike, devouring them piece by piece. The battlefield is drenched in horror. The only one left is the Earthquake General. Maria, eyes blazing, makes him forget his fear, then devours him too.
A middle-aged man with blonde hair fixes his sharp gaze on Maria and Kuria as they approach him. To his eyes, these fragile-looking children should never have reached his level of strength. It feels as if fate itself is mocking him, and that is why he is chosen to end everything here. Once he destroys all and sacrifices the world itself, he believes he will finally obtain freedom, the reward promised in his pact with God. But before the battle begins, he poses a question to the sisters. Does God truly exist? Their glowing red eyes flare, and without hesitation they declare, such a thing does not exist. In answer, the demon lord erects a mighty barrier around himself. Yet to his shock, the twins shatter it instantly. Stunned, he freezes. Only the chosen hero should be capable of breaking through this defense. According to his covenant with the gods, such a hero was never supposed to exist in this world. So how could these girls possess such power? The twins remain silent. They do not explain, they do not justify. Instead, they simply walk forward with calm, deliberate steps, prepared to fight. The demon lord's body mutates grotesquely, sprouting countless swords from his back like jagged spines. In this monstrous form, his confidence surges. Surely these girls cannot stop him. With arrogance, he launches a storm of blades toward them. But Maria does not flinch. With an unsettling, almost erotic smile, she halts every single sword in midair, effortlessly stopping the attack. At the same time, Caria calls upon her magic, forcing the beast's body deep into the ground. Seizing the opportunity, the sisters lift the sword lying on the field and charge forward together. The demon lord lashes back, but Caria meets him head-on. With one swing of her blade, she obliterates his arm, the force so great it disintegrates half of his monstrous body. Yet in ruin, the demon lord refuses to surrender. His pact with God, his dream of peace and freedom, he will fight until the end. The twins only laugh. They mock his desperation. There is no such thing as God, they sneer. Caria adds coldly that believing someone will come to save you only leads to disappointment. That was what they once thought of as Isla, and in the end, all it brought was heartbreak. And then, before their eyes, the demon lord is suddenly healed. His wounds vanish in an instant, mended by the god he serves. Overjoyed, he prepares to speak his god's name, to give thanks. But before a word can escape, his body is sliced clean in half by an unexpected third party. The twins whirl toward the intruder, demanding to know who he is and why he interfered. The man answers casually. He thought it looked like they needed help, so he stepped in. Caria narrows her eyes and warns him in a hard tone that his help was neither wanted nor necessary. The man raises his hands in defense, insisting he has no intention of fighting them. He even jokes that they look cuter when they're not angry. Yet, smugly, he adds that they wouldn't stand a chance against him anyway. They're far too weak. The sisters glare at him with fury. His interruption robbed them of their chance to atone for Isla. For that, he must pay. They leap into the air, weapons poised to strike him down. But before the blow lands, Atu appears. With her magic, she freezes the twins' feet in place. She delivers her message. Takudo has given direct orders for them to return at once, their mission already complete. The twins refuse. Their business with this intruder is unfinished. Atu reminds them that Takudo's orders are absolute. To disobey him is unthinkable. But the sisters shake their heads. They declare they are no longer acting under Takudo's command. All that matters now is avenging Isla. Hearing this, Atu prepares to discipline them herself. But the girls retort with sharp words. Takudo once told them they could do whatever they wanted because they were evil. Yet as the memory plays back in their minds, they recall something. More, he had also told them to do whatever would make their mother happy. The realization strikes deep. To fight Atu, to turn against Minagra, that is not what Isla would have wanted.
Their fury ebbs. With heavy hearts, they lower their weapons. They apologize to Atu for their rudeness. Atu accepts this time, forgiving them. The man who interfered also apologizes before vanishing from the scene. Atu watches him leave and notices something strange. He was wearing a school uniform. If he truly is who Takudo suspects, she decides it is best to let him go. For now. The twins then ask her a question heavy with hope. Could Isla ever be resurrected? Atu shakes her head. Resurrection is impossible. The answer breaks them. They collapse in grief, tears flowing for their mother. Atu prepares her report for Takudo, informing him they are on their way back. He responds with a blessing, wishing them a safe journey. But in private, Takudo's thoughts grow troubled. He begins to see a frightening truth. The mechanics of a Forex strategy game apply to this world. Until now, he believed only cheat skills were at play. But no, enemies are wielding RPG systems of their own, and there are countless game genres beyond that. The threats could be endless. Elsewhere, the mysterious man who cut down the demon lord stumbles through a valley. Exhausted, he drops to his knees, trembling as he recalls his terrifying encounter with Atu and the twins. He curses the god who brought him here, remembering the deception. That god had told him 2 beautiful girls were in danger, that he need only save them. But the truth? The girls were monsters in disguise. His slave approaches him and greets him warmly, calling him master. She explains that the god has apologized for bringing him here by accident, but he grits his teeth. It was no accident. It was a cruel trick. After all, he ended up here only because of that god and Truck-kun. Still, he admits there is one blessing, the cute slave now by his side. Their peace is short-lived. A massive ogre appears, roaring. Without breaking a sweat, he cuts it down in an instant, destroying it with overwhelming power. This strength is thanks to the cheat abilities granted by the god he despises. For that, he feels at least a touch of gratitude. His slave gazes at him in awe. With renewed resolve, the two walk forward together, vowing to try and save this world. Meanwhile, in the ruins of a town, Irachne has just been resurrected for the 19th time. The priest who battles her is struck dumb with disbelief. She had incinerated her to ashes, even sealed her with powerful magic, yet here she stands again, alive. But the priest steels herself. It is her sacred duty to vanquish Irachne, no matter how many times it takes. Then suddenly, a die is tossed into a bowl, and in the next instant, the priest falls in a single blow. Even Irachne is startled at how easily her opponent fell, but she quickly mocks the fallen priest. The struggle had been long, tiresome. Raising her gaze to the heavens, she praises her deity, the Dice Master. Back in Minagra, Takudo is shaken. The realization is undeniable now. From here on, they will face enemies who wield countless game mechanics and systems beyond imagination. If they make the same mistakes again, Minagra will be annihilated. In frustration, he slams his fist into the floor. The ground shatters beneath him, sending him crashing through. Rising back up, he realizes the truth. The destruction wasn't the floor's weakness, it was his strength. Curious, he tests it against a tree. One punch shatters it instantly. Only now does he grasp it. He himself has always been an attack unit, but the discovery brings no joy. Instead, regret floods him. If only he had realized sooner, perhaps Isla would still live. Later, Atu and the others return, and an emergency meeting is held. The subject? The twins' insubordination. Many expect harsh punishment, but Takudo shocks them all. There will be no punishment. Atu protests fiercely. If the nation shows such leniency, discipline will collapse. Chaos will follow.
But Takudo insists he is the one who should apologize. Then, in front of everyone, he bows deeply. Atu and the Dark Elves watch in disbelief. Their king bowing? None could have imagined it. Then he makes a bold declaration. Isla will be brought back to life. Atu objects. Resurrecting a hero is impossible, especially in their current state. But Takudo refuses to yield. He recalls the promise he made during the Ascension victory to revive Isla, to restore the dress, to reunite those torn apart. If this world truly follows the eternal nation system, then victory is possible, and that promise can become reality. Atu warns
Him gravely. Ascension victory means rewriting the world itself. If he pursues it, the entire world will rise against him. But Takudo brushes aside her words. He does not care. He will kill anyone who stands in his way. A dark aura floods from his body, suffocating the room with pressure. The path ahead will be filled with hardship, he admits. But if everyone follows his orders exactly, they will overcome it. That night, while Takudo makes plans for war, the Dark Elves gather for funeral for Isla. The air is heavy, soaked with sorrow. The twins step forward, boldly urging everyone not to be sad. They remind them that Takudo promised Isla's return, but their words bring little comfort. The others, shaken and weary, doubt whether they can follow Takudo's reckless path. Hidden among the shadows, Takudo watches. He sees their doubt, but then, once more, the twins raise their voices. They tell the elves not to lose faith, to hold on to their confidence, to believe in King Takudo. Their words ignite a spark. To their surprise, the elves feel their morale lifting, all because of children. From his hiding place, Takudo's heart swells with pride. The next day, Atu enters the throne room, only to find a startling sight. Takudo is breaking down, tears running down his face. The twins sit at his side, consoling him gently. He confesses that he feels terrible about losing control the day before, admitting he'd frightened everyone with his outburst. The girls pat his head softly, reassuring him that it's all right. They suggest he might feel better if he rephrases his words. Takudo wipes his eyes, steadies himself, and speaks again with renewed determination. He will never let down those who believe in him. Together, they will achieve the Ascension victory. Atu and the others are moved by his sincerity. Inspired once more, they rally behind him, vowing to follow him to the very end. Takudo lifts his head high, confidence blazing in his heart. He knows the truth. He will be the one to claim victory in the end. After all, he is the original Eternal Nations player, the one destined to outlast them all. And with that, the tale of this chapter comes to its end.
That's where Season 1 comes to an end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and drop a comment below. I'll soon be making a full manga recap video for this series, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that.